Welcome to Lesson 02. This is where the theory ends and your fingers hit the keyboard. By the end of this lesson, you'll have Nginx installed, running, and serving its default page, and you'll have done it through 3 commands. Install with your package manager, start with systemctl, and verify with curl. We'll work against 4 checkpoints along the way: package installed, service started, port listening, and a clean 200 OK. So you always know exactly where you stand. Here's the shape of the lesson. 4 steps, each a distinct skill. Step 1. Install, where the package name is just Nginx on every modern distro. Only the package manager changes between DNF and apt, with EPL needed on some RHEL family systems. Step 2. Manage the service through systemctl. 5 verbs handle nearly everything. Step 3. Verify in 3 layers, walking from process to port to HTTP. And Step 4. When something breaks, recognize one of 5 common failure modes and fix it in minutes. Verify between every step. That discipline is what saves you from chasing the wrong problem. Here's the flowchart that drives the entire lesson. Read it top to bottom. Install, start, verify, curl. 4 verbs, 4 checkpoints. At each step, a green check means you continue down. A red cross sends you right to the recovery branch on the same row. Package not found? Enable EPL. Port 80 taken? Stop Apache. No listener? Check journalctl. Connection refused? Open the firewall. Clear all 4 checks and you're at a running server, ready for Lesson 3. Step 1 is install. And the good news is the command barely changes between distro families. On RHEL, Rocky, Alma Linux, or Fedora, it's sudo dnf install nginx, though on RHEL 8 or Rocky 8, you'll want EPL release first. On Debian, Ubuntu, Mint, or Pop OS, it's sudo apt update followed by sudo apt install nginx. Same package name, same outcome. The only meaningful divergence is where Debian puts its site configs. Sites available and sites enabled, but that's a Lesson 3 concern. With the package installed, every interaction from here on goes through systemctl. 6 verbs carry you through the next 10 lessons. Start brings it up, status confirms it's healthy, enable wires it into boot so it survives a reboot, reload applies config changes with 0 downtime. That's your daily driver. Restart is the heavier hammer for when reload isn't enough, and stop is the rare one you reach for during a config disaster. Burn these into muscle memory. The reload versus restart nuance gets its own treatment in Lesson 12. Once it's running, you verify in 3 layers, because a process being alive doesn't mean it's bound to a port, and a port being open doesn't mean HTTP is actually answering. Layer 1, systemctl is active Nginx, confirms the process. Layer 2, strlnp piped through grep for port 80, proves it's listening, and that 0.0.0.0 tells you it's bound to every interface, not just localhost. Layer 3, curl, localhost, proves HTTP is genuinely responding with a 200. 15 seconds every install, no exceptions. And if you can curl the VM's IP from another machine, you've also just validated your firewall and network path in one shot. Now, before you run anything, let's preview what can break, because every install time failure has the same shape: a symptom, a real cause, a one-line fix. On RHEL 8, Nginx isn't in the default repo, so you add EPL. If port 80's already taken, it's almost always Apache or Caddy. Stop them. If curl works locally but not from outside, that's the firewall. Open the HTTP service. Linux denials show up as permission errors on RHEL. One setsibul flips it. And if systemctl itself is missing, you're on something too old for this course. 5 failures, 5 one-liners, no dead ends. So why stop at 3 commands? 3 reasons. First, the distro maintainers already did the hard work: compiling, permissions, systemed units, log rotation. Your job is just install and verify, not to relitigate their packaging. Second, The 3 checks map to 3 distinct failure layers: process, port, and HTTP. Skip one and you'll debug at the wrong altitude. And third, failures cluster. Those 5 patterns from the previous slide are your entire debugging map. Memorize the failure modes, and the success path takes care of itself. Here's the whole lesson on one page. 3 columns. Install on the left, control in the middle, verify on the right, covering RHEL, Rocky, and Debian family systems. Print it, tape it next to your keyboard, and work top to bottom. By your 5th fresh VM, your fingers will know the sequence, and you won't need to look. But until then, let this sheet do the remembering for you. Now it's your turn. 3 drills, 25 minutes total, and they're not optional. At the end, you have a running Nginx server you can actually point someone at. Exercise 1. Install it on your VM and confirm the version. Exercise 2. Start, enable, and run all 3 verify commands from the cheat sheet. Exercise 3, and this is the one people skip. Curl your server from a different machine to prove external access works. If that last one fails, it's a firewall problem. And you fix it now, because every lesson after this assumes HTTP reaches you from the outside. Before you head off to those drills, 5 wrong turns that quietly burn your first hour. Don't compile from source. You lose systemd, log rotate, SE Linux context, and every lesson after this. After start, always run enable, or Nginx ghosts you on the next reboot. Verify the default install responds before you touch nginx.conf. Otherwise, you're debugging 2 unknowns at once. Let systemctl own the process. Never launch Nginx by hand as root. And before any reload, run nginx-t. Syntax check first, reload second, always. And that's lesson 2 in the books. You installed Nginx from the distro repo, brought it up under systemd, confirmed port 80 was actually listening, and you've got 5 failure modes already mapped. That's a real working server, not a tutorial illusion. Next up, lesson 3, the config file anatomy. Main, events, HTTP, server, location, directives versus contexts, so you can open any nginx.conf and read it without flinching. See you there.